Welcome to today's episode of What's on Fire with Matty Smokes, the podcast where we're going to dive into the chaos, the truth, the real stories behind the hospitality industry. I'm your host, Matty Smokes, and today I'm joined by Michael Cassano, longtime restaurateur, hospitality pro, and owner of the American Beauty Bistro restaurants. With over 25 years in the game, Michael knows all the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Let's just get into it. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Good to see you, Matty.
Just like to give everybody a little introduction into you and the American Beauty restaurants. How'd you get started? Where'd this all begin?
All began, just getting into the industry. I think I was 14 years old. I was a busboy at a local Italian restaurant. And this was back in the day. As a busboy, I had to wear a black vest, bow tie, fill the waters. We, as busboys, made the salads, made the dressings. Just a very family business to where, the owner was behind the line, the wife was behind the bar, with caked on makeup and lipstick, Nancy, and it was family. It was a good business, and it was probably the best introduction you could ever get into the restaurant business. From there, I'll get to a story back on why I was fired from that first job and how I got my job back in that establishment. I continued on. I worked at a fast food place. I worked at a Sizzler as a cashier, then as a waiter. And then as I went to college, actually to be a chef, I got accepted to URI. I got accepted to all the nice colleges. Couldn't afford it, so I went to SUNY Cobleskill. I lasted a semester and a half at SUNY Cobleskill through their culinary program. Unfortunately, after the first semester, my best friend's sister came with leukemia. She passed away. First, my grandfather passed away, so I had to take off from one of my labs. Professor Seeloff said, "Listen, kid, you're doing really well. You got a 4.0. You're doing really good. You're going to be a good chef one day. You can't take time off. This is the one time you can take off." So my grandpa died. I came back to Long Island, did 4 or 5 days. A month and a half later, my best friend from my kindergarten, called me Lee. His sister Tylea passed away. So that was my other family. I went into his office, said, "Listen, I need the next 4 days off." He said, "You walk out those doors, kid, it's over." And I quit school with a 4.0. While I came home and did our grievances, my dad said, "You got to get a job or you got to go back to school." So I got a job and I became a stockbroker of all things. I know everyone's seen The Wolf of Wall Street. I was a part of it. I was one of those young guys, did that for about 8 to 12 years. Did very, very well in that industry as a young guy. But in 2005, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Sold my businesses in Manhattan. I had a brokerage firm, over 100 employees, did very well. Came home, sold that, took care of my mother for 5 or 6 years. And then in 2011, after my mom passed, I wanted to get back into the industry. I realized that my heart wasn't into stocks and that stuff. I wanted to go back to culinary. So at that point, my father, I took care of my mother and my dad. He said, "Listen, I got a couple $100,000 for you. You gave 5 years up of your life. Do what you want to do with it." I had a friend named Damien who was at the nightclubs in Manhattan, and he wanted to do a place out on Long Island. We looked up at Huntington Village. We were going to replicate Hanu, which was next door, a couple places down. At the chef from River. Oh, yeah, we've all been there. Nice coconut martinis, which is now on my menu. We'll talk about replication later, too, which is a very good part of success. We bought the Meehan's. So Meehan's is in Huntington Village. It's a mainstay, big burger place. They had the Oak Room. They sold it to us. I wanted to do restaurant. My partner wanted to do nightlife. And we were going to do like Hanu. But looking back, you can mix the two, but there has to be a special formula to it. Also, we're going to get into partners having the same vision. Because if you don't have that, that's a very big problem. We did 3 to 4 years, 3 years there. I ran the restaurant. My partner, who I thought knew what he was doing, was running the front of the house. Those businesses collided. We were doing very, very well with the restaurant. Nightlife came in, ruined the restaurant business. We parted in 2016. I sold to him. He was out within 6 months. I had $40,000 left to our names. Met my wife, who was my waitress at that restaurant. That's another story for you. We came into Massapequa and we purchased a little hole in the wall, a dive bar, if you will. With the last money that we had, we built a 17-seat restaurant to where it was very, very, very profitable. So between 2016 to 2019, we started doing $3,000 to $4,000 a week. We raised it to $30,000 a week, off 27 seats altogether, which is, to me, 700 square feet, phenomenal. We then purchased another restaurant with a partner, childhood friend, which I lost that childhood friend over the partnership. We bought a effing Grooven, and it was a bar, and it's been a bar for 20, 30 years. Went in there, created a kitchen that was never there, and we tried to turn a bar into a restaurant. Me and my wife. 6 months, 7 months, which is a record for us. We made it profitable in 7 months. And then COVID hit. So while that was still progressing, we bought our third restaurant, which was in the heart of Massapequa Park, which I'm talking to you from right now. This is our fine dining establishment. And I don't know. It's we just closed Bellmore literally last night. But the other two, Massapequa, are in here, doing pretty well. But in a quick 6-minute speech, that's from start to finish where I've come from and where I'm at right now.
Yeah, so when we sit here and talk about all the highs and lows, and obviously the restaurant industry, it's full of it, and I think that's why we love it so much, is 1 minute we're on top of Mount Everest, and the next minute we're digging ourselves out of a grave. And you talk about Bellmore closing. What was the final tipping point that brought you to the point where you had to now close the location? Because it can't be easy. I mean, it's your first location that you opened up for the American Bistro setup, and now it's the first one to go.
Well, that was the second one, but the first one to go.
Okay.
So
First was
the Bistro was massively successful. That one started successful, and then COVID hit. But again, there's a whole bunch of different things with that. I heard too many of my mentors and guys I've spoken to in passing, and they say, you got to watch out. Guys have 5, 6, 7, 8 locations. One location can sink all the other locations. And it comes down to a whole bunch of factors. Ego, also false hope. And what I mean by false hope is most people in the industry know, one great night raises those serotonin levels so good to where you do a very monstrous night. You say, hey, if we could do it that one night, we could do it 7 days a week. Or you have an amazing week, but you have, let's call it, in 1 month, 3 bad weeks, 1 good week. The restaurant business is so profitable that 1 week can fix 3 bad weeks. So in your head, this is doable, but on a consistent basis, it's not sustainable. So the lack of consistency, and I truly believe that, my wife and myself, we have one manager now between the two places, stretching ourselves too thin, and finding middle management. It's just, you're always looking to replicate yourself through a manager to maintain your restaurants. And I think that's it's kind of impossible. No one's going to care about your business as much as you do. But on the same token, you need that. You need that other person to run it like you would, to have people have the same experience at all your places. So back to what we were saying before with those guys on 10, 15, 16 restaurants, it baffles me. And I want to learn, I want to comprehend how they're able to imitate such a good experience to be able to expand that well with no middle management. Or if they do have the middle management, where they find it and how they train those guys to get to where they are.
Yeah, for that level of consistency and the level of hospitality. I mean, mediocre food and mediocre beverage can always be overcompensated with some amazing service.
So my wife and myself, our number one thing is good food cannot make up for bad service. amazing service can fix anything.
Yeah.
I've been to places, I mean, the reason why, not bashing any chains, they make billions of dollars. Applebee's, Fridays. To me, that food's mediocre. It's not good. They're not, making veal stock, but they got flair. They make you feel part of something. They have a scene. And their amazing service makes up for everything. So, when you're in the middle level of the game where we are, we're not high end. I'm not the Scottos or Arlo and these monstrous guys up there, but we're not McDonald's. We're in the middle. I think that's the hardest fight. The hardest fight of being able to replicate that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, consistency is something we all strive for. And obviously, we hope that every one of our staff members treat everyone in the restaurant the same way that we would. But obviously, that's not the truth.
All restaurants always run the best while we're there. I hear customers say, "Oh, it's good." He goes, "But it's usually a little bit different when you're there," and it's true. The phones go back in the pockets. The food comes out just a little bit better. The bathrooms are cleaner. There's always toilet paper in the bathroom. Every aspect has to be managed. That's just the way the industry works.
So what do you do on a normal basis to keep your staff motivated? What are we doing to keep people happy and stay working for us?
Most important thing to these guys, unfortunately, is money motivation. The more money they make, the more loyal they are to you. It's about consistency. What I've learned over the past, let's call it, 20 years, they like structure. They like knowing that somebody's in control and that they're going to get paid, and that there's going to be people walking through the door. Our job's to get the people through the door. Their job's to keep them here. So keeping them motivated, I feel as if the past 4 years, 5 years since COVID, that's been the hardest part. And I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't think it's post-COVID thing. I don't know what it is. I know that when I started in the business at the age of 14, times have completely changed. There's been more of a camaraderie back when I was in the industry 20 years ago than there is now. I've had bartenders come in here and they're saying, "Oh, it's slow at the other place." I'm like, "What are you making a night?" 250, 300. And I'm like, "Well, what are you expecting to make?" I mean, how much money? They're always looking for the next best thing. There's not a family there. When I was in the industry, we lived and died by what I call it, working with worthy thieves. Because at the age of 14, in 1991, I was making $80 a night. That was a really lot of money being a busboy with a packed restaurant. But we all worked with worthy thieves. We were pulling money out of a restaurant that was ours. We were sharing in the profits. I think today's kids, adults, people, they're not there because it's a cool restaurant. They're there to just get money for themselves. And the hardest part I'm having is, for example, on a Saturday night, bust that table. That's not my table. That's not the right answer. I don't want to do a pooled house because they don't like that shit. But on the same token, there was a team. I think it's not so much a coolness thing. They're there completely for the money. And for guys like you and yourself, I'm in it because I love this business. There's a lot easier ways to make a couple $100,000 a year. A lot easier ways. We work in 80, 90 hours a friggin' week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're in it. These guys are here from their clock in to clock out, and they're done. I spent all my holidays at those restaurants that I worked at, and I enjoyed it. At the end of the night, I know there was shrimp parm coming at 1 a.m. after, the holidays. We made money. Mother's Day, you wanted to work. Christmas Eve, you wanted to work. New Year's Eve, you couldn't wait to work with those people. Now I have guys that don't want to work Fridays and Saturdays. I want a balance of life. I don't want to work Mother's Day. I want to spend Mother's Day with my mom. I'm like, that's the biggest day of the year in this industry. You're going to make $500 in your pocket at 22 years old for 4 hours work.
Yeah.
I just think the whole mentality, and the whole structure of the industry. But I also feel, I don't know how you feel about this, it's going fast casual. It's going to pickups. It's not going for the experience. It's just, there's a mishmash in the industry right now where it's hard to find the people that love the industry. Do they love the industry or do they love the money? And then that's the biggest.
For us, before COVID, we never did delivery. We barely did takeout. That was 0.5% of the business. At this point, over at JJ Cooper's, Uber Eats, Grubhub, takeout, is probably closer to a 5 to 10% at this point. The increase that has gone on and what's going out, it's become a tremendous part of our business.
It's also, knowing the industry, you have to have the ability to change. I made fun of it. I would drive through Taco Bell. It's an industry leader in our industry. It's hospitality. And the first thing they ask you is, are you using the mobile app? And in my head, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm like, no, I'm not using the mobile app. But I'm saying, if they're doing it, how many people really are using that mobile app? And do I need that mobile app? Is that going to help my business and go forward? And is that going to help me grow in the industry? But it's hard to do because now, the bistro, which I have burgers, fries don't travel well. There's certain foods that won't travel well. Empanadas, they need to be aerated. They're not going to travel well. And then the fine dining establishment that I have here, the restaurant, I don't want to do steaks to go. There's too much food that I can't allow to be transported.
But I want to
want it.
But I want to say
let me
something.
modify.
That was something that we had always said. We were always concerned that it wasn't the best possible product ever. This point in time, now that I've seen it and I've watched it, the consumer doing Grubhub is okay with that. Are the McDonald's French fries good when you get it on Grubhub a half hour later at your home? They're not good. It's the same thing. But people are paying 20% more for it.
30, 40, 50, because I jack at 30%. They take their 30%. And we have to do that, even with the prices of all these to-go containers, and it has to be a proper to-go container. You want the food to travel well. Yeah, it's just
I'm putting my best
industry
effort in. We are trying to make sure that we are giving the best product at that point, but obviously there's no chance that it stands up to what's going on fresh off the grill into somebody's hands at the restaurant.
You get a ribeye and all of a sudden all that fat's turning solid before it gets to your house. I have a problem with that. Even my guys in the kitchen, it's retraining to go for steak. I'm like, it's medium rare. I'm like, make it rare. Well, I go, it's cooking on the way. It's going to rest on the way. We have to make sure this goes out properly. The guy wants a medium well burger, cook it to medium, then get it in the pan, then it has to go out. And now the structure changes. So then that's retraining behind the line, retraining for the guys packaging it, retraining for what to put in that bag. Do we put catering menus in those bags? Does it help our promotion? There's a million different facets that the industry has completely changed since COVID. And adjusting for old timers like me, it's very, it's hard to do. It's hard to do. It took me 20 minutes to get a setup so I can get on a podcast with you. But it's challenging to say the least, but you're a chef. I'm an owner. We care about the food. I truly care about the food. There are certain things I won't modify on the menu. It's not going to taste good. And I've also come into situations where a table insists on the modification. They get the food. They go, this does not taste right. I said, yes, because you pulled the balsamic vinegar out of it and the acidity is going against your palate right now. I go, it wasn't going to be good. Or the complaint that you get from a steak being in that tin to go. And all of a sudden I get a 2-star Yelp review, shitty ribeye. Like, you ate out of a shitty tin. What did you expect?
But obviously we ride on a gray line. We're hospitable. We're supposed to try to give the consumer what they want. They don't always want, I like mustard on my hot dog. You might like ketchup on your hot dog. So everybody has their individual preferences and what they want. Where are we starting to cross the line where we're no longer being hospitable by giving customers what they want? Some people want a ribeye on their couch and they don't really care if it's overdone.
Listen, if a guy wants a well-done steak and he wants ketchup next to it with A1 sauce, I'm going to hand that to you. The time it comes to me when it constitutes, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Give them what they want. But on the same token, for guys like you, it makes you eat just a little bit. I'll give you a story. When I had Acacia, in Huntington Village, lady kept asking, she goes, I want well done. Brought the filet back to the chef. He looked at me, did it again. Come back. It's not well done enough. He looks at me. He took the filet mignon over his shoulder. I read it plopped into the fryer. He left it in the fryer. No bullshit. A full minute. Pulled it out.
And she said it was the best thing ever.
And he asked me, he's like, yeah, handed this too. I go, what's that? He goes, ketchup. I go, bullshit. He goes, trust me. He knew what was going on. Handed it out. Best steak she ever had.
Oh. Look, I've been in the restaurant a long time. That's not the first steak I've ever seen in a deep fryer. It's happened, and people that wanted that loved it. I've seen I've seen a filet mignon go in a microwave for somebody, and they
Oh,
loved it.
absolutely.
So again, you're not going to catch me dead putting a $20 filet mignon into a microwave or a deep fryer for me or my family. But yet the consumer at the table happens to be ecstatic about it.
Now, the question that I'm also get conflicted on too, you can't please everybody all the time. So sometimes you will do those things and they will backfire. And in this industry, I've learned in business, no good deed goes unpunished. Whenever you think something would be nice to do, you do it and it backfires completely on you. And, donation of food, all of a sudden they don't like it. They give you a bad review and you gave free food, whatever the case may be. Do you want to please if you try and please every single person out there, you'll go out of business. If every person tells you change this on your menu or tries to give you advice, you know what you should do, you know what you should do, you know what you should do. And I tell them back, you should open a restaurant and do those things.
When does it become enough is enough with a customer for you? And how do you handle it at this point? Like, you know what? I've tried to do everything to please you. There's no other industry out there that somebody could be sitting at a table, order a dish from you, and then tell you that they don't like it, or I can't believe it's that spicy, ma'am. It says the spicy rigatoni on it. It's got jalapenos on it, but I didn't think it was going to be that spicy, and now they expect it to come off their bill, and we've done nothing but actually meet the expectations of what we plan to give this consumer. So we're out there all the time doing things that we know are average, if not above average, because of our overall reviews. And we're doing, 400 covers on a Saturday, but you got some people that you just can't please. And are you taking it off the bill? Are you comping them? Are you just telling them enough's enough? This restaurant's not for you. Don't come back.
So we we've gone through quite a few of these in my career. My wife's actually the best at it. It's going to come down to a whole bunch of factors. When they interact with my employees, just as much as I would fire an employee for being rude to a customer, I will absolutely throw a customer out of my restaurant if they become aggressive with my employees. There's zero tolerance for that. I've had that happen. That's an awesome story. But on the same token, we get to the table, and I love seeing the entire plate cleaned off, zero left on it. Didn't like it. You didn't like it, but it's completely gone. Take that off the bill. We have a problem. Depends upon how often they come to the restaurant. So if I have regulars that are there and they're coming 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, I might eat the actual, the meal, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, we ask questions. Yeah, listen, it's case by case scenario. You know if someone's trying to get one over on you. You know it in your stomach. You know exactly how it's going to go down. You look at the bill for over $400 or $500, and I got to pull something off. I'm going to do it. I try not to take things off the bill. We try and give them a gift card or offer a dessert. I prepared the food. The food was made. If it's made to spec and it's exactly what it says on the menu, we're not taking it off.
Love that.
Yeah, it happens. I've actually, people have challenged us, call the cops. I'm not paying for this. I'm like, it's a beef Wellington. It was cooked perfect. Yeah, I just didn't like it. And I believe the woman said to me, well, I do this at other restaurants. They make me what else I want. I go, oh, so you do this often? I go, you ordered it. It is what it is. You have to pay for it.
What I love about the part is at least pay for what you ordered, but here's an opportunity for us to redeem ourselves, come back in again, have another meal on me. Dinner is on me that evening, and give me an opportunity to redeem myself and still retain you as a customer. If you just want something for free to walk out, I'm not okay with that.
Not at all. So, but you'll also know where that's going as you're reading the table. So our business, whether it be the kitchen or the front of the house, we pivot all the time. It's all reactionary. Slow it down. That table's doing this. We can't do that. They're not after wraps. Bring the food back. We have to remake that food. They made it too early. You have to pivot. That's the most important part of our industry, is pivoting and reacting to the actual situation. When they don't like something, you'll know right away if they just want it off the bill and they're not coming back. If you're a one-timer and I know you're not coming back, here's your bill, pay your bill, you have to go. If they're amicable about it and they really don't like the situation and you know they're coming back, I'll take it off the bill. I'll give you a quick story we had at the bistro once. I was down in my office and my 19-year-old waitress came down almost in tears. Some guy's upstairs screaming about his eggs not poached properly. I said, okay, I'm coming up. And I was in the office. I was in my work stuff. I just cleaned the grease trap, whatever. I didn't look like the owner or manager or anything. So I come up the stairs. There's an older couple and then a very older couple. And then, people in their 50s or 60s sitting down. They're having brunch. And as I'm coming up the stairs, I go, hey, guys, everyone calm down. She goes, starts yelling at me. This is coming off this is coming off our bill. That's coming off the bill. I go, whoa, slow down. I'm like, calm down. What's going on? His eggs weren't poached properly. This doesn't taste that. Blah, 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 blah. And she starts screaming. The girl behind me is in tears. She's crying. They're yelling at a 21-year-old or 19-year-old girl over a poached egg. So I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. She goes, no, let me tell you. I said, we're done. I go, you're not paying for the poached egg. You're not paying for the drinks. You're paying for none of this. I go, I'm paying for everything. But then I slam my hand on the table. I go, but all four of you need to stand up right now because you're not eating any of my food that I paid for and walk your ass out the door. I'm like, this is not appropriate. You're adults. I go, you're terrible human beings. I'm like, this poor girl's crying over a poached egg because you guys are screaming and yelling. So I looked at the parents. I said, you raised bad kids. I said, you're bad kids. Everybody get up. She went to sip her mimosa. I said, put that down. I paid for that. And she put down her mimosa. And as she was walking out the door, all four of them were walking out the door with their heads on. I'm writing a review. I'm putting you out of business. I'm like, have a good day. And that was the first time I ever kicked anybody out of the restaurant. Oddly enough, the rest of the restaurant clapped and applauded and was excited that we even did that. That was a situation I was proud of. Now, that was 3 or 4 years in over at Bistro. In all honesty, if that was my first year, I don't know if it would have been the same. Because the first year, I would have done anything to stay in business, anything to keep your business. I would have taken it off the bill. I would have kept my mouth shut. I would have hugged the girl behind me and let it go. Being that we were a bit more successful and had our feet to the ground, I felt a little bit more empowered, if you will. And I was like, nope, we're done. Get out. You made a little girl cry. We are done. This is over. So after that date, our philosophy is the customer's always right until they're not. And at that moment, the customer definitely wasn't right. That was probably one of my most empowering days in the industry. It felt good. It felt good to fire somebody that wasn't employed by me.
Yeah. I mean, I've had similar scenarios. People complaining that, the restaurant's loud. And I go, well, I'm sorry that we're busy. There's people here. They're talking. They're enjoying Friday night out. If, I had one lady where she just kept going and she goes, well, the old restaurant, I go, this is the new restaurant. Then there's 150 people in here. The music's a nice vibe. Everybody's in. Well, I expected a quiet. Look, man, I can't make you happy. You can take your food to go and go eat it somewhere quiet. I want to eat it here. Well, what would you like? Would you like to go sit and eat upstairs alone? If you'd like that.
Give me the solution and I'll help you out. I don't have a solution for you right now. There's nothing we can say or do. You're looking for me to pay for your food. We know where this is going. But that's going back to, when is enough?
Yeah.
When can you, we have new steps of service now where the staff, manager, and everyone, we don't like saying the word no. But once we get to the word where we do have to say no, there's a protocol where either the owner or the manager has to step in and say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Or I'm sorry, you can't be served. We can't please you. There are people that can't be pleased. There are people that I don't want back in my restaurant.
And there's people that come in that just have expectations that we're going to do anything they want. When they come in, well, you have this on the menu, so why can't I make this with that and this? And they just have expectations that as soon as they come in, because they're spending money, we're going to do anything and everything for them.
It's restaurant entitlement. I'm paying you, you'll do what I say. And we will to a certain point. I'm here to give you service. I'm here to be hospitable. But when you take advantage of the hospitality, then we have a problem. And you can't take it too far. But I think that should be in any industry. No one deserves to be abused at their workplace, especially by the customers. That's just insane. And there's only so much I can do to make you enjoy the atmosphere. If you cannot be pleased, if you're looking for a quiet restaurant, my restaurant's loud. I can't make the impossible possible. So this might not be your place. And we're not for everybody. There's my food, my service. Some people love me, some people hate us, and I get it. But if we're not for us, don't come back. It's okay.
I couldn't agree with you more. What now in 25 years of business and being in the industry, what would you say was one of your biggest highs in the business ever?
Biggest highs
Walked
ever.
away and just said, "Wow!" Like
it came off my biggest low in the industry. So the bistro, we were there for about 6 months, and we weren't hitting our numbers, and it was the last of our money. I know we used to drive up to the bistro, and I'd always look to the front door. And my wife said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm making sure they lock the door." I was looking for the eviction notice. Not even. We were 4 months behind in rent. I owed purveyors. That February, I had to beg Main Street Meats for a case of wings because I overextended. I had no money left. And I sat the wife down. I said, "Listen, we have 4 weeks before we have to pull the ripcord." And she goes, "What's that mean?" I'm like, "Well, there's a certain amount of money that we could bury in this restaurant industry. If you stay open for too long, you could lose a lot more money than you have in it." And I said, "We have to pull the ripcord. We have enough money to do another venture." She was in tears. We were at our table. We were pregnant. We had baby on the way. Absolute tears. I'm like, "We got 4 weeks left." She goes, "What has to happen?" I'm like, "We have to hit this number, this number, this number, and this number for 4 weeks straight," which to me was triple what we were doing. I'm like, "That's impossible." And we put in all our stuff. We were there 7 days a week, 16-hour days, make sure everything was perfect lighting, every customer. And you'll see me smile, almost tears. First week, we went from $3,000, we hit 8,000. The next week was 14,000, and we were packed 3 deep at the bar, couldn't move. By the 4th week, we hit 20 grand. And I'm like, "We keeping it." And it never stopped. And I finally felt the high and why this business is so goddamn addicting. 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, I cleaned up 7 months of hell. 7 months of rent, electric, that got shut off once, gas got shut off once. We cleaned up 7 months of hell in 4 weeks. And then from that day on, it never stopped at the bistro until COVID. But that was the biggest high ever. Just astonished that 700 square feet can pump out $25,000. Like, how the hell did we do that? And is this illegal? Do we get to keep that money? Because we didn't realize, you don't realize how profitable the restaurant industry really is. You hit your fixed costs, and then once you hit that break-even point and you get your food and your labor costs correct, holy shit.
Yeah.
So that was, again, the biggest low, because thought it was over, but that was the absolute biggest high. Holy shit, we turned a dive bar into a flourishing bistro that the community embraced, and it just didn't stop. And that was my biggest high in the industry ever. Yeah. But
so
get emotional on that. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I mean, I think I've put my all into this industry 3 times, and almost putting everything into it is what forced me to make it work. I had to wake up every day and make it work. If it didn't work, I didn't have anything to fall back on. Everything that I had saved and worked for was just gone in a matter of months if you didn't make it work. And it started with a barbecue trailer that I didn't even know really how to barbecue at the time, but I went and dropped 40 grand on a grill.
Listen, we literally were pregnant. We had $30,000 to our names. That was it. And I threw it all in there. And we said, all right, let's do it with the backs to the wall. Now knowing what it takes to be in the industry, if you want to do big things, you need money. You need money. And looking back on how we got through that, I still, to this day, I have no clue how. Nothing short of a miracle. And, I always say, God knows your break even. He always knew our break even. And, for all those months, we down 1,000, down 800. And it would we just about make it. I'm like, what does it take to make money? And then out of nowhere, just boom, the heels dug in, and it flew. It friggin' flew. And again, that's the best feeling you'll ever have. That's the industry, though. Nothing's better than having at the end of a 400 ticket night, whatever it is, sitting on the back porch with the chef after you were throwing shit at each other, having a beer. 2 minutes, half an hour before that, he was literally throwing a sizzle pan at you, and you were screaming in his face, and now you're drinking a beer at the back, laughing about what just happened. But you got through it, and that's a high too. That's a very big high. Yeah. The exhale after service is a pretty cool high. Looking at the floors and they pull up the mats, it's just like, woof, we did it again. We
got through it. So at this point, you've done it all. You left the industry, you came back. 20-year-old self that wants to get in this industry and do this from the start. What are you telling him?
You have to do the positions that people don't realize are the most important parts in this industry. You want to wash dishes first. You want to busboy. You want to host. To me, those are the three centers of the restaurant business that you need to master and see what goes on from the bottom up. Because as an owner, you're going to be cooking on the line, you can waiter, you can bartend, those skills that you can acquire. Those three things, to me, is what actually runs the restaurant. The dishwashers, without them, they do from everything, preparation, keeping everything clean, keeping everything in order, and they keep the support for the cooks. The busboys, they support everything for the bartenders and the waiters. The hostess spaces out and is the first thing and hospitable part of the restaurant. The other ones are just functioning people, bartender, waiter. And then you elevate to do those positions as well. You want to get in this industry to actually own it. You need to do every single position because that's what you're going to do as an owner. And I feel that the leadership of a restaurant should, in order to help people facilitate their profession, know how to do every single position perfectly. And be able to, if need be, jump in and do those positions. I've still washed dishes. I've worked the fryer. Not so good on saute. And if I have to, I will. Dishes, get behind the bar. I'll get you buckets of ice. You have to be willing to do anything and everything. And you better dedicate your life to it. The most important part of this industry that me and my wife have found is being there. You have to be there. You have to watch it go down. You have to make sure the hospitality is being directed from your employees to there. But you have to know what their job is, and you have to lead by example. But if you want to get in this industry, start washing dishes. Take the toughest jobs, get through them, make them perfect, perfection at them, and then get to the next level and continue on. And before you own your place, manage someone's restaurant. Learn. The best part about our industry is you don't need a college education. All you need is experience. And guys like me and you, I'm willing to give people shots all the time. And you can learn on my dime. You get to learn the industry from me, from all my mistakes. And the biggest thing I think in this industry is not knowing what to do. It's knowing what not to do. And working for me, I know a lot of shit not to do. I would imagine you've made a ton of fucking mistakes that have cost us hundreds and thousands of dollars, if not $1 million. And if I could teach you what not to do, it's a lot easier in the industry. So if you're looking to get in the industry, start washing some dishes. Get into hospitality. You better love people. You better love hard work. But, strap in. It's not easy. It's simple. It's very, 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 very hard work. And it never ends. So that would
Everybody
be my
thinks
advice.
It's simpler than it is.
Well, you have these shows like Chopped and, Bobby Flay, and they think all these kitchens are clean. And, I love watching these restaurant shows, and you see a place been in the business 25 years and they have all brand new equipment in the back. I'm like, that's not, they cleaned that up before the cameras came into that kitchen. There's no way. And if they ever saw Bobby Flay in the kitchen, knowing what a raging nut job he is, they wouldn't have the respect for him, because I know stories about him. Even the chef of the Linea, I know about him. People have been hitting the head with pans by these guys. But on TV, it's glamorous, and look at my white chef coat. No, it's not how the real deal is. You get cameras in our kitchens, unadulterated. You could see what a real kitchen work life really is.
The work life, home life, obviously wife does the business with you. You got kids at home. How do you balance it all?
We don't. You don't balance it. You try and maintain it. Working with my wife, very, very, very awesome. Very, very, very hard. Because now you have somebody else with equal say, more opinion, and sometimes she's right. And, sometimes a little bit of homely experience. Sometimes she's wrong, but she's still right. It's my wife, so still got to do it sometimes. I know she feels exactly the same way. Sometimes a little bit worse that I don't know what I'm doing. With the kids, they get dragged around a lot. You know, birthday parties get canceled. Son's about to blow out his candles, but the soda guns aren't working. Got to get up to work. Blow out the candles. I got to go. Mother's Day for my wife is the day after Mother's Day. Thanksgiving is the kids hanging out in the catering room. And if people don't sit there, we can have our Thanksgiving dinner there. Or we drop the kids off at the in-laws. You know, holidays are usually the next day after. It's a grind. You know, there were times, I explained to my 8-year-old daughter once and she goes, you said we were going to go to the pool, blah, blah, blah. And I sat her down and I explained, I said, listen, when we went to Great Adventure and you put that little wristband on, you got to cut all the lines, right? She said, yeah. I go, Daddy spent a lot of money on that, so you cut the lines. She goes, yeah. I'm like, well, the way that we do that is if we service people. Right now, there's no carbonation at the bistro. So instead of going to the pools, we have to go change the gas because they don't know how to do it. They did, but they just couldn't do it. So we're going to miss out on that, sweetie. I go, but when we go back to Great Adventure, do you want to sit on the lines or do you want to cut the lines? She goes, cut the lines. I'm like, then we have to go fix the soda guns. So I'm trying to explain to them about self-employment and let them understand. They've grasped it. They're being raised in the industry. They have a choice. They do. They can go to college. They can stay in the industry with us. This is what I know. I know how to do it well. My 16-year-old son is the head busboy at the restaurant. He kills it. Before he worked with us, we sat him down for a good hour conversation on everyone's gunning for you. You're the owner's kid. Don't get caught on your phone. Don't be eating lobster in the walk-in. Don't be doing stupid shit. Don't steal liquor. Don't do this. Like, I know that the other people, they're going to be gunning for you. So you have to set the example and you have to be the best at the craft. And surprisingly, even to me, my son, awesome. Awesome kid. I'm so proud of Jonathan. You have no idea. But he's also growing up in the culture. For me, it's kind of funny. And I'll give you an example. We had a Christmas party at the restaurant. And it's a Christmas party, a restaurant Christmas party. And it's him and 3 of his friends at 16, 17 years old. I'm not going to tell you.
You can't share.
You can't share the story. But, as, I left the restaurant, I pulled the cameras out. And we get home. We stay. Me and my wife, we eat with them. We have 1 or 2 drinks. We leave. We're the owners. No one wants to have fun in front of the owners. And we get home and she goes on a camera. I go, what are you doing? She goes, the cameras are down. I'm like, I know. I'm like, let them party. She's like, our son's there. I'm like, I know. Just go to sleep. Find out tomorrow what happened. But, I'm trying to bring back the way it used to be, even with the camaraderie from the staff. I try and joke around with them just enough to know that, it's a family, but I'm also stern enough to, hey, this is a business. Walking that fine line, I've made mistakes, becoming too friendly sometimes, not being stern enough, being too friendly, then trying to be stern to where they don't like you. And they thought that it was a friendship, but it's still a business relationship. Our industry, I think, being in hospitality, they don't feel like they're at work. And the hardest thing I had to convey to my staff sometimes, the front of the house, is it's not your night out. It's their night out. We're here for them. We're not drinking during shift. We're not doing this during shift. We're not eating in the hallway during shift. It's their night out. That's why we make our money. But in such the atmosphere and seeing the partying and seeing tables get drunk and everyone at the bar is getting drunk, customers asking if the bartender could take a shot with them. And it's like, oh, come on, let him drink with me. And I'm like, he's handling my money. I don't want my bartender drunk. So, you teach them to drink the water, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm trying to bring back the familyness to it. I want them to, the way to get them to stay with you is to feel like a family, to feel something, to get the softball team from American Beauty going, to have the nights out, not to drink at our bar, to walk across the street at a local bar and put $500 down and say, hey guys, my staff's coming over after shift. I got the cooks. I got them. Let them drink their faces off. If anybody misbehaves, give me a call. I'll get them out of there. Stuff like that, just to make them a team. It's hard. It's a hard balance with the family life and the restaurant life. I don't know if you say you can balance it. I think that you have to just try and maintain it as best you can. As for balance, sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way. Like you said, the worst times are the absolute worst in the industry, and the heights, nothing's better than that feeling of victory.
Yeah, that's why we do it. So lastly, we'll just kind of talk about what's the future look like for Michael? What's the future of bistro look like, or the restaurant and bar in Massapequa? But what's the next 10, 20 years look like for you and the industry?
Well, I'll go with us first. With us, with the bistro, we're going to be able to concentrate now that Bellmore's off the table. It's going to free up a lot of time for us to be able to focus on 2 restaurants. So I have me, my wife, and then the general manager. We're able to maintain the 3 and actually increase the balance of life to where people can have days off and stuff like that. The bistro is still trucking. It's brunch, it's dinner, it's the local burger spot. We have our specials. We have our, outside dining, inside dining. Everything works there perfectly. We're going to start trying, since COVID happened, the late night has died, completely died. At 9:30 p.m., our restaurants have closed. But I think that's because we've trained people to do that, including the staff. We've had bartenders that, they want to close at 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. during the week. Oh, no, we're closed because they're so used to COVID. We're going to eat it for a little while. We're going to start promoting later nights, start promoting the later drinking, trying to get those seats filled at night and get people accustomed to coming out at night again. Same thing with the restaurant. We have a back patio that we're opening. We're redoing the whole back patio with an outdoor bar. We're just going to concentrate on elevating and marketing and getting these 2 places back to profitability of pre-COVID. So right now, I'm sure you guys are feeling the challenges too with food costs, labor costs, insurance costs. Our industry, our costs have doubled, tripled, quadrupled in some things. I think I paid $80 for a case of Brussels sprouts last week. Holy shit. Like, what's going on? Green peppers, $50 for a case. Anyway, I digress. We're going to focus on these 2. My wife's always looking for other places, but I want to focus our time and see how we can maximize the experiences at our places. Being there more often and not being spread so thin. It's just going to be elevating the food. Something I've learned, I've looked at a couple of menus, one menu in particular that has never changed. A place called Vittorio's in Amityville. Mike Espo, great operator, amazing place. I don't think they've changed their menu in 15, 20 years. But he's got a ton of specials. So what I'm concentrating right now is getting a forever menu for my restaurants. So this is the menu and that is it. And then barreling in with our specials of stuff that people have been asking for. Oh, you should keep this on the menu. You should do that. Oh, what you should do. And be able to have the creative thing to where we have those specialties. And I could key in on that. We're trying to do, I'm going to be doing some ghost kitchens. I'm teaming up with Ralphie Parazzo for his hot dogs and his sliders. I'm building a menu for those for late night. So in my 2 locations, we're going to be opening a new menu from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I don't know if we're going to call it stoner food or something really cool and get that rocking and rolling. But that's the plan for the 2 restaurants we're doing right now. We're gonna laser focus on the 2 restaurants in the one town. Just fine tune it. For the industry, I'm as confused as I've ever been in this industry. As an old timer, I'm trying to grasp onto the new technology, trying to learn how to use AI, the mobile apps like the big guys are using, the to-go containers, like you said, doing those things. I'm just trying to learn how to adjust my food cost to my to-go costs, to my labor costs. And it's very, very challenging right now. I think it's challenging all across the country. I think the girl that runs Dine LI said 15 more places went out in the past 2 weeks. And we're not talking about just mom and pops. Fridays is gone. They knocked out 15. Friendlies, I think there's 2 left. And these major corporations, these guys will stay open for a 1% profit. They'll stay open for a 2% loss for a tax write-off. If they're going out of business and they're shutting their doors, that's Armageddon, because these are major corporations. I still think, I'm not going to be political of that nature. I still think that our industry took the hardest hit out of everybody in COVID. I think that we were gut punched. I think that we were very wrongfully treated. And I'm not looking for retribution. I'm not looking for a handout, but they need to do something. And I don't know if it's regulating the food costs. I don't know how you feel about it, but I see guys like Chick-fil-A. I know who their chicken producer is. I know they're paying $1.45 a pound for chicken. Are you paying $1.45 a pound? No.
Nope.
Am I paying $1.45 a pound? No. So these big guys, they need to be regulated, because if they don't start figuring that out, guys like you and myself, the profit margin won't be there. A reason I'm closing even Bellmore is the profit margin's not there. Even if I was making, let's call it $100,000, the amount of hours that we put into our industry, it's not worth that money. I can't make that amount of money. And it sounds crazy, but it's not worth that type of struggle. I mean, you and I, it goes from 6 a.m. till midnight. You're called up at 3 a.m. That's a problem. It's 7 days a week, 16-hour days. It's got to be damn profitable. And it's not, So the industry has to, I don't know, there needs some sort of regulation or something to even the scales, because all you're going to have is Wingstops and Chipotle's and Buffalo Wild Wings and stuff like that. And they stay business just on sheer volume and doing their apps and all the other stuff. We got to figure this out. What's your feelings on that, by the way?
I'm looking forward to streamlining, consolidating. Unfortunately, less skill, simpler labor. I do think it's going to sacrifice quality of product and what we're offering, but without that self-entitlement, self-ownership of really long-term employees and putting, a big investment into your time and who's working it, no one cares about it like I care about it. So truth is, every plate that hits a window, I want every plate to look perfect all the time. And I can't say that it's the same way when I turn my back. So
Got to be there.
I've been talking to some of these guys, quick service, like you said earlier, 20 locations in 10 years. But I want to focus on, I think the focus is about profitability. I think when you just discussed a streamlined menu, making sure every item on that menu that, we can't be at 25% food cost anymore. You got to look for 20%, 15% if you can find it. But that's how we become profitable in the long run, and making sure that we're selling the most of the items that are making us the most. Training staff on them, letting them know, really getting a moment for them to understand every item, what they can modify, what they can't modify. If they add avocado to it, I need $3. An avocado is costing us anywhere between $2 and $3.50 on any given day. But just hitting the add button and writing an avocado is not okay. We're losing money every single day. Side sauces. I did a number the other day that we probably go through on any given night. It was, anywhere between 20 and 40 side sauces that people were just coming in and asking for in the kitchen. 50 cents every one of those adds up to $10, $20, $30,000 a year. And it costs us
I always tell my staff, I said, if it's extra, then it costs extra. There's no such thing as free. Unfortunately for us, the container came in, it's extra. It comes with enough sauce. If you want more sauce, that costs extra. They want an extra egg. It costs extra. It is what it is. I think the constraints on our industry has also been pulling back on my availability to be more hospitable. Me and my wife, we would try and stay off the floors on Friday and Saturday nights. We know all the locals. Customers expect when the owner's there to get a drink, get something for free. They expect it. I can't buy that drink anymore. I can't afford to buy that dessert on your plate. If you take 20, 30% off of your bill, I'm breaking even. I can't do that any longer. The money's not there for me to even, encourage hospitality. It's a different game. Where the industry is going, like you just said, streamlining to make it more profitable. Unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of the love out of it. It is. Like you said, I saw your face. That's the way to become super profitable, but it just doesn't feel good. And that's the one thing I am proud of. Sometimes people have we had Asabuco last week, and table's like, come here. I'm like, what? It goes, that's some of the best shit I have ever had. Thank you so much for having it. And that feels good. But streamlining and having the same thing over and over again, I want to get called to that. That's a good feeling. But we're also getting to the age, I'm turning 50 next year. We've been in the industry a long time. So in industry years, I'm over 100. We need to be able to slow down a little bit. We need, myself and my wife talk about it. We need quality of life. We went to a barbecue this weekend because it was a slow Saturday. There were 20 sets of our friends are like, you guys are here? It's a Saturday. Oh my God. Like, oh my God, you're here? And, we didn't know how to talk to people. We talk to people for a living. We just sat there and watched everybody else having a good time. I'm like, all right, maybe we need to get out a little bit more often.
Sometimes we forget how to have a good time.
Oh, yeah. I can't go to the beach. We go to the beach. She's on the thing. She's looking at this. I'm on Baldor seeing what prices are. We can't just sit back and watch the waves roll in. It's, we don't know what to do when there's nothing to do. So that's part of the.
Well, so Michael, on that note, listen, we love what we do. We love the industry. We are hospitable. We want gratification. We want people to love everything we make, every plate we put out there. That's why we do it, So on that note, though, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. And
thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, I look forward to what the future brings. And, maybe in a year from now, we'll revisit a new episode where we can talk about how we're opening restaurant number 30.
Oof. Oh, don't know if that makes me happy or sad. We'll figure it out when that year comes. But you never know what a year could. Listen, a year in our industry is a long time. Things happen. Like I told you, it's 6 months. Profitability. You have no idea what the next thing happens. So even with my restaurant closing, we closed last night. You never know what next week's going to happen. Another opportunity comes knocking on the door.
Well, so guys, I'm Matty Smokes. That's the chaos, the highs, the lows. And I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Woo!